The expedition window for Arc Raiders is open, with departures happening on the 22nd in just a few days. If you're like me, you might be in a frantic last-second mad dash to get all that you want out of the experience now heading into the reset so that you can get all the things like the skill points, as many of those as possible, right up front. Today, I want to take some time to talk about some tips ahead of the reset and the wipe to help you either achieve your goals you've set before then, or to maybe ease some of the stress or fear of missing out of stuff that may come. So drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all things Arc Raiders as we gear up for a new season in just a few days here. I'd love to have you in the community, but for now, let's get into it. So of course, the expedition requires a couple of different stages of items. The main focal point of this video isn't necessarily going to be the initial contributions to the expedition, but we'll cover that here just as a sort of covering all the bases. Tier 1, it requires metal and rubber parts, arc alloy, and steel springs. All of those first three things are really simple to gather off of, or you can recycle items into. Arc alloy, you just need to start killing some arc enemies to end up getting that. And then steel springs, these can be found in the industrial mark zones or in breachable containers out in the open. They're relatively easy to find. Tier 2 requires 35 durable cloth, 20 wires, 30 electrical components, and 5 cooling fans. At this point since launch, I think it's kind of safe to say you can probably craft these things in your refiners, the durable cloth and the electrical components. If you can't, durable cloth, you're going to end up finding that mostly in medical zones, electrical components and wiring in technological items, and 5 cooling fans can be found in those larger vertical breachable like server racks. Tier 3 requires 5 light bulbs, 30 batteries, 20 sensors, and an Exodus module. Light bulbs can be found in lockers, breachable containers, cars, and sometimes regular containers. There's actually a static spawn point on Dam for one of these on the road near electrical substation and water towers of Dam. Batteries, check your computers, and sensors. Again, you can get those in the breachable server racks as well. Exodus modules, easiest way that I think to get any of these is, of course, an Exodus marked zone, but Stella Montis' assembly area has a ton of potential for these to spawn. Not to mention, if you don't get just straight up Exodus modules, the pink items that you can end up getting from there, most of them will end up recycling down into Exodus modules. So if you find some pinks, you definitely will in those areas, take them out and then work with them from there. Tier 4 requires 5 humidifiers, 5 advanced electrical components, 3 magnetic accelerators, and 3 Libra pulse units. Humidifiers are in residential areas. Buried City great for this, as are the Pale Apartments, Ruby Residences, and the Pattern House of Dam. Advanced electrical components, you can find these like along the technological consoles of sorts, like in control rooms, or you can craft these in the refiner. The magnetic accelerators, again, you can craft these in your workstations, but again, Stella Montis is great here for this if you want to find them relatively easily. Or again, things that recycle down into them easily. And Leaper pulse units, you just gotta kill the Leaper. Tier 5, you have to end up getting credits for combat, survival, provisions, and materials. This is just basically offloading anything you find, whether that be items you crew off dead enemies you killed, trinkets you ended up taking out, shields, bandages, so on, and all that kind of stuff. This is just your general grinding, which can then kind of get into our next project discussion here, optimizing your yield for what you pull out of a raid. And whenever you end up getting to it, cash yield more specifically. Now, at this point in the expedition, you're probably where I'm at. Again, this last second mad dash to see how many skill points I get, not whether I finish the expedition or not. Personally, I've been doing the Grandioso apartments into a jump spot room by the hatch runs. That's my main at the moment as of the last couple of days. And playing solo, it is something that's either very fruitful or you might waste a little bit of time. I say this because there's a bit of variability in the runs. This, you're going to want a Mark II augment or something that gives you a bit more carry capacity and ideally has a dedicated trinket slot. That's where the real money kind of lies, but I've been taking a Mark II, sometimes a Mark III because of the 3 safety pockets, but you're basically going to weave in and out looking for any and everything that is a diamond trinket logo on it, clearing the building and then heading across the way to a sort of blocked off, locked courtyard where on the one side there's the access from the hatch and the other side it's the jump spot into a building there that usually has a few containers, sometimes a weapon case that can spawn there as well. But this is, when it works, insanely quick money. Like I'm talking 60 to 80,000 in maybe 4 to 5 minutes, and then you can extract. It was an already common route. Like this isn't something that's new or groundbreaking or anything like that, but with the focus solely on money, it's been kind of hit or miss depending on when you end up getting into matches. If you're getting in late, it's going to be annoying. I think that as a solo, I went in yesterday and I probably had like 6 raids in progress by about like 10 minutes. So like not even close, but 6 in a row that I was just incredibly close to abandoning the raid and losing out on like a $15,000 base loadout of augment, shield, heals, and a lower tier kettle just so I could have some chance of requeuing a little faster. I didn't, but the point still stands. It's just sometimes annoying if you're not the first there, you have to pivot, which if you are having to pivot, depending on the timing of the raid, places like hospital, research, and space travel, those are solid options to the north, while Plaza Roma in the south is also a good choice. That whole sort of roundabout with a pharmacy and cafe is always a good option there, but there are definitely options. Then of course you have the red tower and everything that has that now dynamic spawn of the security bridge plus a couple of lockers and a couple of containers in there, so there's definitely options there for that. That's what I've been running mostly as a solo player. Now another map that's really good is quick Stella runs, and if you are still working towards some of the contributions to the expedition, this again is not a bad option as well, because if you're looking at assembly or medical research, getting in, looting up, and getting out is insanely beneficial, and you can do this on a pretty budget loadout as well if you don't want to risk too much, because let's be honest, Stella Montis is a PvP haven. So it's high risk, high reward. I think I've maybe had half a dozen raids where I'm not in a fight or being aggressively pushed in some capacity since Stella dropped. So while the loot is absolutely beautiful there, like if you spawn near and clean house and assembly, you're walking out with like 5 to 8 pinks on average between magnetrons, ion sputters, Geiger counters, and even more that are just beautiful. That is great for resale, but also if you need to recycle stuff into things for your actual contributions, you can do that too. Not to mention, blueprint spawns just got buffed there, so you have a better chance of finding something you may want, or if you already have it, those sell for 5,000 a pop, so those are really beneficial to keep and then sell if you really need the cash or want to sell those. Assembly is a great area to run with that, especially if you have a hatch key, because there is a hatch right next to assembly on that like eastern side of it, but that's another very quick get in, get out if you have the opportunity, that is. Again, starting these raids late does become a little problematic. You also have the option to, on multiple different maps, to basket farm. The raider baskets, you can end up getting things like lemons, apricots, prickly pears, olives, candleberries, moss, roots, resin, agave, mushrooms, grape mullein, and such, all of which can be sold off in mass for a solid price. When I think about this sort of like money farm, I think of it as that meme of like, it's not much, but it's honest work, because that's actually a great descriptor of this. These baskets are mostly in unpopulated areas outside of hot zones, so you're not really going to be doing too much fighting or being contested too much unless somebody else is going explicitly for this and they're not cool with you for some reason. But you'll need to hit a few of these to make these types of runs really worth it. And most of the times it's just running around the map. I'll leave a link down there in the description below to a very handy interactive map tool that can showcase where each of these spawns are in each of the raids, so it can be of great benefit to you instead of just saying, hey, look for these super small baskets in this massive world. Like, that doesn't really do much help, but if you have the general vicinity of where those will be, it is very beneficial. This method was incredible during the Lush Blooms event, but oddly, this has actually been something that's taken out of the rotation of major map conditions as of recording this in favor of things like the Locked Gate event as the Cold Snap update. So that's unfortunately one of those things that, like, that Lush Blooms event would give you more of those kind of nature items plus raider baskets, but unfortunately it's just one of those things you have to right now deal with just the standard spawns of them. Also, just because I didn't know where to put this in particular, because it's not really something that is super farmy, but like it's a nature item, I guess. One of the new items that was added with the Cold Snap update was the fossilized lightning, which can spawn pretty commonly where lightning strikes in the electromagnetic storm condition. So while I don't think this is like a super easy or guaranteed farming method, if you're playing that condition, you can see these items pretty commonly. I think my squad found the one time at the event like 5 or 6 of them without even trying, and they all sell for $4,000 a piece. So if you keep walking around the map checking lightning spawn points while you're maybe looting up residential areas or something like that, it can be a really nice haul to pull out of there. The final thing I'll say in regards to like tips in relation to gathering money quickly is use your keys. They're better now, and they're not really worth selling or getting rid of otherwise. With the Cold Snap update, we did see that keys were adjusted to make epic loot in particular a little better, and I'd say that from my limited testing, things were definitely better than they were. They're not necessarily like use your epic keys and you'll come out rich with every single item you could ever ask for type of thing, but it's certainly better. Not to mention, if you're like me, holding out for locked room updates, you'll have a ton of these. They don't sell for much. I think it's like a couple hundred max for a key card. So like, they're not going to do you any good other than trying to go in and pull some stuff out of it. So you may as well use them. And again, with a wipe and reset coming, they're not going anywhere otherwise. So like, get them done. Outside of that, a lot of this comes down to what can you sell versus not selling. A lot of my philosophy recently has been going for the coin wallet rather than the inventory, which by the time you're probably watching this video, whatever B-roll is put in, it's probably not the best example of it because I probably still have just under like 1 million in my inventory or something. But like, to me, when I think about it, coins obviously can be banked. So unless you're spending them, they're not going anywhere. If you take in some kitted weapons or anything, you could lose out on 20 to 30,000 just on a weapon or two there that could really sort of impact your overall stash value. So if you have the opportunity to sell things that you're not going to use that can be worthwhile in regards to that sell price, like for me, I had an excess number of Wolfpack grenades, right? I have the blueprint that I can make more of these here if I want to, but the ones that I found are kind of just sitting in my inventory. They're taking up space and I'm not necessarily going to use them all that much. So with 5,000 a piece, that gets me, I think it was like 25 or 30,000 right there, that if I need more, I can craft more, but saves me some space in my inventory, also giving me a good yield return on that. So there are things that you kind of have to weigh those pros and cons of, am I going to use them? Are they better off banked as coins versus sitting in my inventory or perhaps being on my loadout? That's something that's more subjective and I can't necessarily give you a definitive answer on everything, but just consider that kind of stuff going forward. Finally, the last tip that I kind of think that I can have here is don't stress. I mean, ultimately the difference, if you are taking part in the expedition, if you've completed to the point where you're only now gathering coins and value for your inventory, the difference between like 1 to 3 to 5 skill points right up front may seem like a lot, but in all actuality, it's not going to set you much apart from somebody if you end up getting to the max progression as well, that has like 75 versus 80 skill points. Depending on the future expedition opportunities and how much they compound, you might see over time a limiting factor for potentially hitting everything you want eventually, but for the time being, that advantage you get right up front with this next air quote season, what you lose out on compared to somebody else who did get all 5, it's not going to be the biggest like world ender in that sense. It's going to be likely minimal in terms of that and what you experience, especially because you are going up against people that did not wipe, so they still have their full skill tree intact. So if you feel like you need to play 24/7 until the expedition, you're feeling stressed out, I'd say don't sweat it as much. It's going to be fine. You can breathe a little bit, but maybe that's just me. Anyways, that's some tips that I want to share with you guys here if you were looking to hopefully maybe get some extra quick cash here for the end of the expedition. This is the stuff I'm going to be doing the next couple of days, so figure if it can help me out, I'd like to share it with you guys. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys like the tips here, the money farm runs that we have set up? Anything that you would like to add to the list, feel free to let me know. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so much a single thing running all things Arc Raiders and even more FPS content. I'd love to have in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.